Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for frame rate is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
Framerate is brought to you by MailRoute.info. MailRoute is a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now absolutely free at MailRoute.info.
Just go. Start the show.
It's Frame Rate. Welcome to Frame Rate. I am just one partial fraction of your host, Tom Merritt.
Yes. We lock in like Voltron. I get to be the legs.
I am the middle finger.
That's everything else is Raygun 01, Mr. Jason Howell. That's how we roll on Frame Rate, sir.
That's right, baby.
Wow. Thank you. I will go ahead and be that.
He has no idea what we're talking
I have no idea. Sorry, I was pressing buttons.
So as a kid watching Voltron, because you had the cat Voltron, but then all of a sudden you had cars forming Voltron, and you couldn't figure out like which Voltron was which.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes. I
sound like you're patronizing me. This sounds like a first world problem.
I was totally listening to what you said about Voltron. And the things.
There was different Voltrons. There was like
no. I do remember.
Some Voltrons that were the cars, and there was like some third Voltron that was like an emo kid or something.
Well, and then there was the Battle of the Planets. Right?
You tell me, man. I'm the one who said I was confused.
There was the Battle of the Planets, but then there was also Voltron, and there was just, what it was is they would take these series that made perfect sense in Japan, and then they would bring them over and they would cut the crap out of them, thinking, well, the American audience, they won't understand this, so let's make it really confusing. Then they'll understand.
Well, it certainly worked.
Yeah.
And 30 years later, I'm a very confused adult.
Yeah.
Hey, man, how have you been? Sorry, we didn't have Frame Rate last week. It was a little bit of a schedule.
But it did allow us to do a Twit Christmas special or holiday special, or as John Hodgman put it, Saturnalia special, that will air. If you didn't see it live, it will air as part of This Week in Tech Sunday after Christmas. It'll be in the feed for you as a special holiday present.
Awesome. Well, good. Well, meanwhile, I wasn't able to be there for Frame Rate last week because I was a little bit on the other side of the planet. We'll talk about that.
Just a little bit? Or were you entirely?
I was 1,000 miles away from being on the exact opposite side of the planet from where I am right now.
Wow. Were you tempted to make that 1,000-mile trip just to say you could go to the exact opposite side?
Not in the least. Not in the least. It turns out that when you travel halfway around the world, that's far enough. You know what? I can say I did it.
You made it back for what I will say without equivocation was the most anticipated release of a geek movie this year.
Oh, my gosh. Are you setting up our big story?
It's time for the big story.
This just in, the big story.
My favorite part is that he actually matched up the audio with the guy with the crazy 50s guy.
I know. The voice syncs, but it's so obviously recorded on a nice mic in a studio somewhere by just a guy.
That's right. The big story is Tron Legacy came out on Friday, although like special VIP types got to see it earlier in the week, like Sarah Lane, who fell asleep.
sort of soured my hype for the whole thing. I was like, look, I don't need to see you tweeting all over my face, saying that you're seeing the Trons.
All this was us experiencing what Hollywood types experience every day. It's just that they don't Twitter about it so much. It was the social networking crowd got let in on the little Hollywood red carpet event. And then, of course, they had to Twitter the crap out of it. But, yeah, Tron Legacy, I saw it on Saturday. It was way too sold out on Friday, and we had our Twit Christmas party on Friday. But I was able to watch it on Saturday. I watched it in 3D. Did not watch it in 3D IMAX. How did you end up seeing it?
I saw it in 4K 3D. It was a 4K projector. I think 4K technically they have to do it 2K or something. Anyway, I saw it
2K in each eye.
Projected in 3D. What's that?
2K in each eye.
2K. Well, I think it is actually because they split the signal that way. But I saw it this morning because when I got home on Friday, in my imagination, I was going to go straight to the theater, but I came home sick as a dog, which we'll also talk about later, with 103-degree fever. I was laid out for 3 days, so I watched a lot of stuff that wasn't Tron. But this morning, we took the kids to the Alamo Drafthouse, which has Baby Day, which is the greatest invention in the history of cinema. If you have kids, if you have a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, or an infant child, and they start crying, you're like, whatever, dude. It's Baby Day.
Yeah.
That's what you signed up for.
They have that at the Parkway Theater in Oakland, which is actually a similar deal. It's not as nice as the Alamo Drafthouse, but it's the same idea where they serve you food, and they have a Baby Day as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's phenomenal. Okay, I'm going to let you go first because I got a lot of thoughts and I don't want to.
All right. Well, first of all, ground rules. Do we need to raise the spoiler alert level?
Do we?
To be honest, I think we could talk about any of the plot points that were in any of the trailers and in any of the previews. And to be honest, I can't think of a spoiler that wasn't in those.
Okay.
Like the whole movie really is pretty much written in the previews.
We're gonna raise the spoiler alert level to yellow then.
Okay.
For those of you who don't like to watch trailers.
Sound the alarm.
Yeah. So there we go. Oh, here it comes. Spoiler alert level
Yellow.
is activated.
What did you think?
I liked it. And what was interesting, we talked about it a lot on East Meets West this Sunday with Roger Chang. I agreed entirely with Roger on his evaluation of the movie. He hated it. I liked it. I thought it was a great visual experience. I thought the soundtrack, as I knew it would be, was awesome. The Daft Punk soundtrack was fantastic. It linked with the video in a great way. The visual effects were amazing. The young Jeff Bridges as Clue, a little bit of a cutscene sort of CG Jeff Bridges, which worked okay actually in the Tron universe because he is a computer program. Didn't work so well outside of it. But overall, I was like, the story was just enough for me. It wasn't great, but it was enough to pull me through, and I just thought it was beautiful. A lot of Kubrick homages in the settings and the way they shot some things, just gorgeous effects, and it was a fun, big music video kind of experience. What did you think?
I thought it was very sleepy, and I didn't understand why it should be. It was just everything was. It's like somebody threw a party. And it's the party everyone has to go to. Everything about the party is exactly right. The music is incredible. The location is unreal. It's decked out with the most amazing visuals around you. All the right people are there, but you just didn't have fun while you were there. There was something to the original Tron that had so much more life to it and good humor and pep. And Flynn was so full of this life that really shook up everyone around you. And you don't see that from Sam. You see, a confused, kind of angry kid. And unfortunately, you don't see it from Flynn either. Flynn's, I don't know if it's a product of him being older and playing a different character or whatever, but, we may need to raise the spoiler alert specifically here, but his meeting of Sam was the biggest letdown ever. It's like if my dad was gone for 21 years, and then I run in and see him, and he says hi to me, gives me a hug, talks for maybe 30 seconds, and then walks out on the patio to have a smoke and just ignore me. I'm just like, what WTF, mate? That ain't cool. Get out of town. That's terrible.
But he's the dude, man.
Well, but that's just it. If he was the dude.
he was the dude. He was Flynn the dude.
He wasn't the dude enough because Like, that's what's great about the original Tron is Flynn just took the whole world as a joke. He wasn't afraid of, like, it's like Flynn wrote half this world when he goes into it the first time. So he thinks it's a joke, and he's carrying a secret that he's a user. And there was something neat about his smug superiority and his sassy way of handling everything. And you just didn't get any of that in this movie. It was
Euchre in the chat room points out Kevin Flynn is older mentally than his real-world age because he's lived through so many cycles and time passes differently. So that could have really watered him down. And yeah, I thought Kevin Flynn's character was the one I bought the most. That was the character I felt like, you know what, Kevin Flynn caught in there for that long, living through that many cycles, being who he was. He essentially was Jeff Bridges in the original Tron. This is a really old, experienced Jeff Bridges character. I get that, and I was okay with that. The other characters, Cora was a little flat. She was gorgeous, but just a little bit flat. Sam was real, like, one note. Like, okay, yeah, you're mad at your dad. You're still mad at your... Oh, look at that. You're still mad at your dad. What a surprise. I thought Tony Blair overdid it as Zeus. Just way too flamboyant. Yes. I understood that character was supposed to be flamboyant, but I was like, this is off note. This is out of character.
Yes.
And I had huge problems with different plot points. Like, why the Tron character, particularly, who the movie is named after, we barely find out why he, what happens to him, right? You're kind of left with a question there. We don't find any idea why he ends up sticking around with Clue, and we don't really understand what he does at the end of the movie. It's like, what's the motivation for Tron? And why does he have his mask down the whole time? Could they not afford the Boxleitner effect?
I wonder if that was part of it, and I also wondered if we weren't supposed to figure out that was Tron within the first, like, 5 seconds, since he's clearly got the Tron logo on his chest. Yeah. The same thing that the actual Tron wore. Far and away, my favorite parts of the movie. We made, you know what? At this point, let's raise the spoiler alert up to orange. We do definitely need to go up to orange for this.
Yeah, I was skirting it pretty close there on the yellow, talking about Tron.
Okay, my favorite parts of the movie are the brief remembrances of the wide-eyed universe that these 3 young guns who want to change things for the better have. When they're remembering when it was Tron and Clue and Flynn just hanging out, talking about how they're going to change the world. Like, that was awesome. And it was maybe 15 seconds because it was energetic and it was full of life and it was everything that the rest of the movie wasn't. And everything was just so slow. Even the battles were slow. Even the light cycle thing which was dazzling and maybe even realistic about how, I mean, did the light cycles feel fast to you? Did any of the flying battles feel fast to you?
No, the flying battles in particular did feel elegant. They felt like they were synced to the Daft Punk soundtrack to be atmospheric.
They felt like jellyfish sparring with each other.
Which is why I liked the movie, because I was like, I don't like this plot. I don't like the way they're telling the story, but this is really pretty. And it goes with the music so well. Dude, it toke me up. I'm good.
I will tell you, though, I was beaming ear to ear from the first 15 minutes of pure nostalgia. The sound effects, the visuals. And if you watch the original Tron as much as I did, you recognize so many of these little 8-bit sounds, and you knew what they meant. And there was a lot of inside stuff that I got to think was on purpose. You remember in the first Tron movie, Dumont was the program that controlled the input-output tower. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Did you notice that the shack that Sam lives in has giant? It's called Dumont Importing or Dumont Travel.
No, I didn't notice that.
It's like a shipping company, and it's called Dumont on there.
Nice.
Bunch of interesting stuff like that. And I loved the moment they turned on and the ghost of Flynn's arcade, and you're hearing the 80s music and stuff.
That was great when they blasted out the Journey, like the overloud Journey. That was sort of an homage to what was not meant to be ironic in the original.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was cool.
But it was also, and it just made me smile because again, I brought back those visuals of this energetic kid, Kevin Flynn, who's up there in his apartment, taking off his shirt in front of his guests, talking about how somewhere, man, in one of these memories is the evidence. And it's like, where was that moment in this, man?
Yeah.
Where was? Come on, man.
And they also missed opportunities to remake the grid in a modern way. And I don't mean that visually. I loved the visually, like I've said before. What they did was spot on. It was gorgeous. But what about the idea of bringing it up to speed? Why wasn't it networked? Why wasn't there internet metaphor? I guess it was supposed to only be existing within that program running in the basement of Flynn's arcade. So maybe I can identify that. But they didn't expand on master control program or the I/O tower or programs. In fact, they went backwards on that. They barely acknowledged the fact that everybody was a program and this was happening in a computer tower. I wanted to see some, I mean, on the one hand, they had real honest-to-goodness Unix commands running, which, you know, good on them for that. They didn't skimp on that part. That was aces. Cool. But, I wanted the club to be called, and I mentioned this on East Meets West, I wanted it to be called L2 Cache or something, like this is where everybody's waiting before they, go on in through the microprocessor or something. I wanted more of that tie-in, and they actually gave me less.
Those were also, you got to admit, those were the parts of the original that aged the least well. Those are the ones that look the most campy now. Like, oh, yes, no, on, off, you're a bits. Like we spent 30 seconds setting up that joke in there. But again, that's kind of what I loved about Tron. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but I kind of would have liked to see a little more cheese. I would have liked to have been jarred out of my place to where I just didn't care, where I knew it was a bit of a silly ride, but I was just having too much fun to care. I wanted more of that Men in Black experience, or what I hope to get from Cowboys and Aliens coming up soon. The moment, and it was Bonnie that nailed it, the moment that they really dropped the ball was in a world where anything is possible, where physics and gravity can be redefined, where costumes can be anything you want them to be. The party should have been a hell of a lot more awesome than a bunch of people standing around with making out with red people. That was a huge disappointment. They had a big opportunity to make the party something amazing and over the top and outrageous.
Maybe the party should have been called buffering, and it's just been packed and nobody could move.
Maybe maybe you're right. Maybe they just needed more networking puns, and I would have been okay with it.
I would have been entertained. And somebody in the chat was like, "Are you sure you liked it, Todd? Because you're not saying." But the thing is, I'm picking on the plot, and I'm picking on the setting, and I'm picking on the characters, and I have problems with all of that. But I still enjoyed myself. At the very end of the day, when the movie was over, I was like, "That was enjoyable." It was a treat for my eyes and ears, and if it wasn't a treat for my mind, well, so much the worse. It's a missed opportunity, and I'm sad about that. But wow, it was like watching, I don't know, one of those, what's that bird film where it's just shots of birds flying around, Baraka, I think, or something, where it's
or say Koyaanisqatsi or something like that.
Yeah, where it's just pretty, and to me, Tron Legacy was kind of like that. It was really nice to watch.
Yeah, I don't think about it in terms of whether I liked it or dislike it. I think about it in terms of whether I'm glad I went or whether you should go or you shouldn't go. And the answer is, if you are a geek, yes, you absolutely should go. You should experience this. You should have the experience of these visuals. Certainly, the transition from 2D to 3D was awesome because they spent a good 15 minutes getting you comfortable with the 2D presentation. And then when it happens, it was a neat surprise. Even knowing that this was going to be what happens, all of a sudden you're sliding and you feel this kind of vertigo moment. It was really cool. There's a lot they did right, but there was just not that spark. Not that it looked like nobody was having fun.
All right. I think we've wrapped it about as up as we can. So let's move on to another big story.
Stop everything. It's another big story.
I also like the fact. I like the fact that he's just heating glass.
No, that's what I look at. Like, really? You're just heating glass? Okay. Audio listeners, we're talking about the video. Another big story. All right. So you just got back from Indonesia, and you were there for a few days. You were sick. I'm sorry to hear that. But
not until I came back. While I was there,
okay. So, but you had time to watch some television when you were in Indonesia. What's Indonesian television like?
You know what? It is a fundamentally different thing. First of all, I did not realize Indonesia is huge. What do you think the population is in millions of Indonesia? No cheating. No cheating.
15 million.
What's that?
15 million.
200 million
Wow,
people.
really? 200 million?
That's almost as big as the United States. We're at 300 million, right? Here's the other thing. What do you think the cable penetration rate is on 200 million?
80%?
3%.
Three? I thought I was being
3%.
optimistic with 80. I figured it was a trick question, so I went the other way.
Yeah.
Wow.
3%, right? And those so that means you have 200 million people, and they're all watching over-the-air television. They only have 10 television stations, and one dominates over the rest of them. It's RCTI. It's the number one station there in Indonesia. And as you probably guessed, not a lot of DVRs, not a lot of Hulu watching, not a lot of time shifting. They're
not going over the top over there?
What's that?
They're not going over the top?
No.
Are they cutting the cord?
No, they're not. But I tell you what it is. It's like a time machine. It's back to the 1980s when it's 1986 and it's 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. So you're watching Cheers. And as a result.
Are you literally watching Cheers?
People, well, actually, they may actually be watching Cheers. So the show they had me on was Mahakaria Magician, which is essentially, it's an awful lot like World's Greatest Magic. And they have a whole bunch of Indonesian performers and variety artists and magicians and mentalists. And then they also have like 4 of us who are brought in from overseas. They had a knife thrower named Throwadini. And it just occurred to me that there's probably someone listening to Frame Rate right now who doesn't realize that my day job is I tour all over the United States doing a bizarre magic show. They flew me out to do 2 effects, to do the human crazy straw and the nail in the eye trick. And the day before we go to do it, they say, well, the last special did really well. So we are really expecting a better turnout. We're expecting around 70 million people to watch this live.
Wow.
Yes.
That's wait, you said 200 million people, so that's close to 50% of the population.
It was the actual numbers came out the next day. 33% of the entire country watched live. And understand, here in America, when we say live, we mean live to tape. Give us 2 hours to nip and tuck and fix everything and cover up any of the screw ups or the curse words, and then we ship it out. They're live. That means like the moment and it's go, and 70 million people are watching whatever you do. And they since have already rerun the special again. It was unreal because all I did was my 2 stupid magic tricks. And for the next 2 days, I could not walk anywhere without people walking up and asking for pictures or for autographs or to say that they saw on the show. It was amazing. And it just reminded me, it's the one taste I will ever get of what in my mind, true stars, people back in the 80s when you could command crazy numbers because there was only 3 channels to watch, to have a taste of that kind of experience, it's unreal. I mean, you want to talk about leveraging the power of mass media. There are parts of the world that our whole understanding, this American understanding, and for all our talking about, wanting to DVR stuff and buy movies on our Apple TVs or whatever, I mean, that's a bunch of horse apples compared to the raw power of 70 million people watching live.
Yeah, we got a couple 100,000 watching. That's right. It says.
But the difference is, look, this is all it's. Hey, hold on, buddy. Hold on, buddy. We're doing good.
Nobody's watching. I bet 1 or 2 of them are Indonesian.
We run into friends. Like, hey, man, I made up those numbers. Indonesia doesn't even exist. Don't worry about it, man.
Indonesia's a myth.
I made Indonesia, too.
There's no
this
such
I'm not real
place.
sure. Come on.
Indonesia's only the thing on risk where you hold to get into Australia. No, and all of you Indonesians, I am just kidding. We know Indonesia exists, but no, it is kind of interesting to think about a sort of a time machine for media penetration and what that means for the choices people have, but also the impact that you have as being a member of that media, and you experience that directly. That's really, really interesting. Also interesting, their big movie on the channel that they're promoting today is National Treasure.
I'm not going to lie. While I was out there, I watched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs again. It was on HBO. They did have cable in the hotel I was in. Oh, my God, is that a great movie. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
There it is, National Treasure.
One of my top 10 comedy movies of all time. Oh, National Treasure 2.
Oh, yeah, sorry, National Treasure 2.
not
right.
even the
it's
real
not like It's like they're old-fashioned, going back to the classics. They're up to date.
What do they look for in National Treasure 2? Like George Washington's coaster or something?
Also, the Omen is playing on RCTI 21. Yeah. So, anything else as far as the type of shows that you see on Indonesian TV?
A lot of it is structurally very familiar territory. They certainly don't. It's not like a situation where they're knocking off ideas or whatever, but it's like I think there are niches that need to be filled. For example, to promote the Mahakaria Magician special, they said, "Hey, we're going to take you over to the show and you're going to be on it." I was like, "Great, what is it?" They're like, "It's it's a top 10 video countdown show. It's like TRL." And I'm like, "Okay." And then they're like, "By the way, millions are watching. Go." And it's called it was called Dasia. And so I counted down the top Indonesian. I felt so terrible. I can't read Indonesian, especially on the fly. And I'm right. And I'm like, Malakaraka Chak Flagada, and everyone pityingly, like, hey, look, he almost said it right.
Yeah, I think I know what he was trying to say there because I've heard the song before.
But and I will say one other thing that was unreal about the experience because again, I don't piece it together at the time. All I'm thinking while I'm doing, I'm like, a lot of people are watching. But then you got to realize that's bigger than our biggest American Idol. And when American Idol's over, they have a press conference to talk about, the big news that happened during the show. So when this ended, they're like, hey, come on over, we're going to the press conference. I'm like, press conference? I walk in, dude, it's like after an NBA game.
Post-game interview.
I'm LeBron James, and it's just nonstop, like click, 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 flash bulbs and asking questions and stand over here, closer. Go, oh no, please, 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 and they're dragging me away.
So when you almost dropped that nail, how did you feel there, Brian?
Well, and it's. I mean, I can't. I wish I could put it all into words. We got some footage of it. I'll be putting it up on my YouTube channel, or if you want to follow my Twitter, I'll post that stuff.
Brian, how much practice do you undertake for this sort of thing?
What, practice? That sounds like show prep. Like on purpose getting ready? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, practice.
Loosey-goosey on the practice.
You're supposed to say, I don't need practice.
I don't need practice. Don't you know who I am? I'm Brian Breshwood. I'm nobody in America.
I'm huge. I'm going to buy you I'm huge in Indonesia shirt.
Yeah.
with a map. It points out this, and that's where it is. People who don't know their geography very well. It's right down there.
Anyway. But I did come back very, very sick. For 3 days, I was laid up, and that's why I've got a lot to talk on the what we're watching. Finally, I'm catching up. I was always too busy to have plenty of stuff to watch, but now I got you. I bet I watch more stuff than you.
Let's get into that in a second. First, I want to tell you about a way to stop spam. Does that sound good to you, Brian?
Yes, you can shout at it very loudly, and it will wither and die. I read that on the interwebs.
You can, maybe, but most people
don't. Curses?
It's a little hard for people to find the chickens in a lot of locations. Cosmic rays require an open roof policy. No.
Highly trained dolphins.
How about $30 a year?
That's like 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks. Yeah. I'm down for that.
Mailroute.info. 1 user or 50,000 users. It doesn't matter. You can stop the spam. I have stopped it to acedetect@subbrilliant.com. Normally, I'm very hesitant to give out an email address in a public situation like this. I have been since 1996 when I registered at subbrilliant.com because I didn't want it to get overwhelmed with spam. But you can't stop it. And so acedetect@subbrilliant.com just got flooded. It was unusable by 1999. It was essentially just like, you know what, I can't even give this out anymore. Forget it. I remember actually my aunt came to San Francisco in 2001, emailed me at that address because that's what she still had when I had given it to her when I was still using it. And I never found out she was in town because I couldn't see it amongst all the crappy spam. I can now use that email address again thanks to mailroute.info. I edited my MX records. I have all my emails sent to MailRoute. They strip out 90+% of it, get rid of it because it's spam. They have a great algorithm. It's incredibly good. No false positives. I've only ever had one email show up that wasn't from an actual human being, and I wasn't certain whether I'd actually signed up for this service at some point in my life or not, and it just never dropped me. So if I couldn't tell, I can't expect them to tell. Check it out. It's a great way to get rid of spam. It's gonna work for you. Leo loves it. MailRoute was written by Tom Johnson, the founder and CEO, who also started a company called FrontBridge and brought it to market in 1998. It was acquired by Microsoft, still used in Microsoft-hosted Exchange services. Nothing easier for mail filtering. Small business accounts start at $2 per user per month for 10 users. And because of demand from the Twit Army, MailRoute has added a new service for individual users as well. $30 per user per year for single users. Visit mailroute.info. Sign up with the email filtering service that I use and keep the spam out. You can say, and not be a joking Dvorak imitator, I get no spam.
Yeah, and not be a liar is what you mean.
I did not mean
I
that.
don't believe it.
I'm not
I mean,
calling
listen,
John
listen,
Dvorak a
listen,
liar.
still-
Don't put words in my mouth. He may be, I don't know, maybe he uses MailRoute.
That's right. Maybe he does.
Time for Film. We take you to the latest film news on Frame Rate with our Film Found segment, the worstly named segment on the internet.
At least no name. At least we have Frame Rate. Frame Rate itself. At least the name of the show is a good name.
That's because
After
you
that,
came
I've
up
been
with
all
that name. Viral video going around for a new movie called I Am Number 4. Have you heard about this?
You know, I heard about it and I hesitated and I didn't watch it before the show. And I'm thrilled that you were saying that we'd take a look at the video. Can we just jump in?
Yep. Hunted kid with superpowers. Take a look.
There were 9 of us who escaped. Number 1 was killed in Malaysia.
That's near Indonesia.
Number 2 was murdered in England. Number 3 was hunted down in Kenya.
You can only be killed in sequence.
What number am I? 7? 5? I'm number 4. I'm next. I've been on the run since I can remember. You keep your head down. I know how to blend in.
You're gonna do well here.
John Smith.
Okay. You don't want to tell me your name.
What's this? Seems like you want to run away.
That is kind of private, actually.
I've been to a lot of places. I think this is a pretty good place.
You were given these powers for a reason. As you focus, you're gonna learn to control them. They're here.
Where is the boy? There's a hell of a lot more coming.
I'm not gonna let anyone hurt you. I'm not leaving.
You can't stop what's coming.
Dad! Where is she? You have no idea how many have made sacrifices so you could live.
If they kill you, we are all gonna die.
Who are you?
Number 6.
You're more powerful together.
You have no idea what I'm capable of.
Yes, when beautiful white people are threatened by ugly white people, this metaphor for white man's burden gives Michael Bay the perfect vehicle for explosions and slow-motion flipping of police cars.
You know, I am not a big believer in Michael Bay. I feel like I've been burned more times than I've been thrilled with his work. And in fact, I didn't know he was involved. I just heard I Am Number 4 and I just watched it. And it was only when his name showed up that I was just like,
Yeah, you know, I should just say the second I saw his name, I chuckled. And that's probably not the right reaction
not the
you should
reaction
have
they were
when you
looking
see
for.
somebody's name.
Yeah. You know, I love the idea of this. It's based on a teen science fiction book by Joby Hughes and James Fry, which maybe I should try to read because I like the idea of this sort of like this countdown where they're eliminated in order. They have superhero powers and they're being hunted down, but it just does not look appealing to me from this trailer. Even the middle of the trailer is kind of boring.
You can't deny there are a bunch of very attractive white people in this trailer.
No, you cannot. If that's what you're looking for in a movie, this is the movie for you.
Attractive white people. Brought to you by Michael Bay.
Yes. Nothing better. Don't forget tattooed evil people coming after them.
That's right, of course. You know what? I will probably not go see this unless. But I tell you what, I drop all, and this is a general rule. I drop all predisposition or prejudices the moment I hear exemplary reviews for something. Like, this is an outstanding piece. Like, there are movies that I have watched the previews and be like, I hate this director, I hate the premise, I hate the setup, I think this looks stupid. And then the next day I will read a review that is passionately like, this is revolutionary, you're gonna have an experience that you never believe for X, Y, and Z, and I'll drop everything and go see it. But my guess, I'm a gambling man.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I'm a gambling man, I'm the over-under. I'm gonna say 5% chance that I'm going to end up seeing this movie.
Broken LCD. Attractive white people. Is there anything they can't do? apparently, the answer to that is act. While conducting research for a canceled documentary on the making of 2001: A Space Odyssey, Warner Brothers found 17 minutes of lost footage from 2001: A Space Odyssey. We saw some of that lost footage at the opening of the show.
You know what? That was the lost footage that we played. I'm pretty sure it was that band.
I think it's different footage. According to reports, Douglas Trumbull mentioned the footage in a Toronto presentation last week. Apparently, Kubrick cut out approximately this amount of the film shortly after it was premiered. So some people saw this in the theaters, and then it was cut out. So if you thought 2001 couldn't get any longer, you were wrong.
You know, I'm not somebody who hates the length of 2001. To me, watching the movie 2001 is like meditating in a room. It almost on a visceral level takes me to another place, and it takes me outside of my current problems, outside of my current life, to some strange other world with a flavor all its own. And just like, whether, what's the difference between sitting in a room cross-legged and blissing out for 2 hours or 2 hours and 20 minutes? I think I would be really excited to see the extra footage of this. Because
here's what they got. Some shots from the Dawn of Man sequence removed, and a new scene was inserted where the ape pauses with the bone and is about to use as a tool. Some shots of Frank Poole jogging in the centrifuge were actually removed. Those aren't all of them. There were more. An entire sequence of several shots in which Dave Bowman searches for the replacement antenna part in storage was removed. Not over here. Oh, not in here. Okay. No, not in my coffee cup. They took some of that out. A scene where Hal severs radio communication between the Discovery and Poole's pod before killing him was removed. That actually explains a line that stayed in the film in which Bowman addresses Hal on the subject. So that's a good one I'd like to see. And some shots of Poole's spacewalk before he is killed were removed.
Yeah, this is that whole thing where it's like every time remember when DVDs first came out and they were all like with deleted scenes, and it took us about a decade of looking at these deleted scenes to realize that for the most part, deleted scenes are deleted for a reason.
Most of them we know why.
They just stopped seeming like such a good deal,
It's always interesting to see, like, from a cinematic point of view, from a directorial point of view, like why it was deleted, where the thought was going. I still enjoy watching deleted scenes for that reason, but I know what you're saying. Like, we used to think we were going to get extra secrets or parts of the story that were hidden from us, and it turns out, no, not really.
I mean, and that was good for something like Star Wars back before they started, remaking it in 18 million different ways. But like early on, when you just had this hunger for just one more little sliver of this strange world, like I got so jazzed listening to the Star Wars radio drama because the opening scene has Luke listening to an Empire recruitment tape because he wants so bad to fly, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is Luke being excited about wanting to join the Academy to fight for the Empire.
Yeah, that's extended universe stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then some of those scenes, like there was the scene with I forget who his friend is, his loser friend, and then they look up and they actually see the two space cruisers fighting up there. Those were cool, but I think it's very rare that a slice that insignificant is going to mean so much to most people.
And finally, in film, Ridley Scott's set to begin shooting the Alien prequel in February. And good news, H.R. Giger has been confirmed as a contributor to the prequel. He is the originator of the xenomorph design. He was left out of Aliens, because James Cameron only needed a new Alien Queen design, and he came up with that himself, apparently. So it's good. I am a huge fan of Giger's art, and very excited to see him back on that. Yeah.
He also did a bunch of the art for, I think, Poltergeist 2. Did you see that?
I didn't. No, I didn't realize he did that.
Creepy stuff with like baby faces in these jelly morphic blob things. But I don't know
as well, I believe.
Yeah, he did do Species.
Matters.
Yeah.
I don't know how much this matters to me. I what I care about in a movie is
right.
good design. And
it's a
good
nicety, though. It's a cool thing. Doesn't mean the movie will be great. You're right.
You're right.
Cool. You like seeing someone who has created such an iconic image being given his due and given an opportunity to work more, and for that I'm happy. But I don't know that suddenly makes the Alien prequel a must-see movie for me.
Okay, fine. I'm still excited.
I'm excited.
All right, let us. Shall we move on then?
Yes, absolutely.
Tube Tops. I caught Jason by surprise. Coming soon, Dirk Gently, Holistic Detective, as a series on the BBC.
Okay.
Douglas Adams, Dirk Gently, Holistic Detective.
I'm going to lose a lot of geek cred points for this because while I have read, I have done the entire original Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe radio drama and saw the movies and that kind of stuff. I think I only started the audiobook for Dirk Gently. That this is a completely different story.
Yeah, it's not in the universe with Arthur Dent. Just watch the trailer.
Based on an almost unswerving belief in the fundamental interconnectedness of all things.
Stephen Mangan is Dirk Gently.
Don't you get it? These are all part of a web of events connected by a common thread.
In the first ever TV adaptation of Douglas Adams' Holistic Detective.
No doubt you're still clinging to the misguided belief that it was all just a coincidence.
But it was, wasn't it?
Dirk Gently, coming soon to BBC 4.
Well,
I mean, it looks cool.
Yeah,
what?
It looks good.
I mean, are you a big fan?
I'm a big fan of Douglas Adams. I am not as big a fan of Dirk Gently. It's got the same voice as Douglas Adams. It's a little less whimsical though, because there's no Zaphod Beeblebrox. There's no Heart of Gold machine. There's no craziness. It doesn't have that like kind of almost anarchic plot where it just twists from one thing to the other. It's a little more sedate, mostly because it's limited to Earth, I guess. But the idea is Dirk Gently is he has his ideas of how the world works, and it's a kind of a question of whether he really is a holistic detective or he's just really good at pattern recognition and makes things look like they fit into his theory.
So is this like is it kind of like a psych angle or a Sherlock angle?
No, it's a little bit of a Sherlock angle. Everything is connected. It's holistic. You can't. Nothing is a coincidence. Nothing is irrelevant.
Okay. Well, cool. No, I'll give that a try.
Yeah, it's a comedy. It's not going to be like Sherlock. Sherlock is something else. Sherlock's on.
Oh my gosh, is it ever? I watched the first one again.
Did you watch the pilot version or did you watch just the Study in Pink again?
Study in Pink.
Yeah, there's a pilot version of A Study in Pink that's slightly different. I kind of liked it better.
Really? What's different?
Yeah, I'm trying to. The plot just seems to move easier. There's none of that big grandiose press conference with the text messages coming in. Lestrade just calls him out of the blue. So there's more interaction between Watson and Sherlock. I don't know. I thought it was a little more direct.
Huh. Well, that's I don't know that I'll watch it a third time, but I had to watch it a second time to watch it with the missus so that we could both watch the second and third movies as well.
On to The Walking Dead. We know that it's on break between seasons, but someone has put together a video showing every zombie kill from The Walking Dead. So you may think, oh, we don't have time for this. Yeah, 70 seconds. This is not going to be good for the audio listeners. We apologize.
You can just count the gunshots.
Zombie got killed.
7, 8, 9, 10. 35.
Yeah, there needs an on-screen counter.
That's it. That's all the zombies they killed in the entire 6 episodes.
That's a shockingly small amount of zombie killing, considering it was
is,
6 full hours or 7 hours of programming. And it hammers home how little, like videos like this, I don't think get the point of The Walking Dead. It's not about the zombie killing. And for me, it's not. I mean, I could care less about those moments. It's about the people.
Ain't about the killing. It's about the people.
It's about the living.
Yeah. And finally, in Tube Tops, Sci-Fi announced they are canceling Stargate Universe, so the last 7 episodes they'll show this spring are the last 7 episodes of the series, which is very disappointing to me because I felt Stargate Universe really hit its stride this year. This is when it was getting good. This is when it was worth watching. I couldn't wait to see what they were going to do next season, where they were going with this. They had a real plot. It had legs, and it just shows to me Sci-Fi is not about science fiction and fantasy anymore. That's a sidelight for them. That's what got them here. They will never abandon it entirely, but this is not the place to turn to when you want to get your sci-fi fix.
Gone are the days of Babylon 5, where they would give you 6 years to really get your legs underneath you and get going.
Yeah, I mean, there is no outlet for pure science fiction and fantasy anymore. You're just going to have to find it where it lies, which brings us to our topic for Cipro. But I don't want to take away your ability to talk about what you've been watching because you've been watching so much. So give us the lowdown before we move on.
I'm going to have to run it down super, super fast because between flights and between being very sick, I watched a lot of stuff. I finally have really been spreading my Netflix streaming wings and flying all over this place. I finally watched Christmas Carol from last year with Jim Carrey. That was on the airplane. Hated it. It was either silly or too British, too realistic or too silly.
Have you seen the Patrick Stewart one?
No. This is the one with Jim Carrey, the animated.
No, I'm saying, have you seen the Patrick Stewart one?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Okay, because if that one's too British, then maybe too British would be it, but I think it's probably not it.
I think too British all the way. I actually liked it, how hard it went. Like, I'm like, wow, this is very, very realistic. And then it would get stupidly silly all over the place. I was like, well, this is silly, and I wish I wasn't watching that. So it's like, I think I might really like the Patrick Stewart one if it just went all the way and really owned the Britishness to it. I watched Inception again. Watching Inception a second time is so much better. It's so much clearer. There's so many fewer questions you have, and it's almost like you just feel like I was 100% right in the way I read the movie the first time.
Interesting.
He's definitely awake the entire movie,
Good to know.
except for the parts where he's clearly supposed to be dreaming. I watched all of Lonesome Dove, all 7 hours with a 103-degree fever. It's on instant streaming right now on Netflix. If you've never watched it, I am not a cowboy guy. I don't dig on Westerns in general, but it's really amazing because even though this was made in the 80s, it's a period piece, and they do such a good job of representing life in the 19th century, it doesn't show its age at all. Robert Duvall, finest performance of his entire career. His performance of Gus is so engaging. You will definitely spend the last 30 minutes of the whole experience crying your eyes out. It's amazing. Definitely see Lonesome Dove. And I watched the Banksy movie, The Exit Through the Gift Shop.
Yes.
Wow, was that movie not at all about Banksy? And I don't even know what it was. And I just felt betrayed and like it was a huge disappointment. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I actually watched it a couple of nights ago. I actually thought it was great, but I didn't have any preconceived notions. I just knew it was a movie about street art, but I thought it was fantastic.
I only knew that it was called the Banksy movie.
Oh.
Exit Through the Gift Shop. And I'm like, who's this Joker I'm watching? This guy's really a Joker.
Yeah, he is.
Do you think you need to have 103-degree fever to watch any of these?
No.
To appreciate them?
No, but that's why when I'm totally immobilized, it's my excuse to be like, you know what I'm doing today? Nothing. I'm going to sit and watch these moving images and rate these frames.
Yeah, rate the frames.
That's right. Have you watched anything, Tom?
Well, I watched Tron Legacy, and I have been watching Top Chef All-Stars. Actually, quite enjoyable because they brought back the best chefs. I was, a lot of the shows that I watch every week are gone on hiatus for the holidays. So I'm not watching Stargate Universe every week. I'm not watching Sanctuary every week because they're all in their mid-season breaks. I always fall back on watching Firefly again. I find that I can never see a Firefly episode too many times. And it's funny is I know I like it. I get excited. I'm like, I'm going to watch a Firefly. So I pick it up in whatever format, because I own it in like 8 different formats, and I start looking at the episodes. I'm like, oh, yeah, that episode. I don't know if I want to watch that. Well, I guess I'll watch that episode. I guess that episode's okay. And then I start watching it, and I'm like, this is the best television ever.
That's why I like going through miniseries or series in order, because there's no question to it. You're like, what am I doing next? The next episode. And it takes that decision, because I short circuit on the decision all the time. I'm like, I'm just going to read some articles instead.
World of Warcraft Cataclysm kind of took away a big chunk of TV watching time. And then,
is it as good as you hoped?
Yeah, it's great. But then also at the same time was working a lot extra because Leo was gone on vacation. And so, yeah, I am in that position you were in, where you weren't getting a chance to watch as much, but I will definitely be watching a ton over the break. We're not going to be doing a frame rate next week, but we will be doing one after CES, is my guess. I don't think we'll be doing one the week of CES. So it'll be a 2-week break on frame rate, and then we'll be back on January 11th.
Awesome.
Maybe we should just do seasons of frame rate. This is our mid-season break.
That would be fitting, actually.
Season 1.5 begins January 11th.
That means we gotta end this one on a cliffhanger. Like at some point, I'm gonna have to be like, "I'm sorry, and then I freeze, and then my screen goes black." And
to
then
be
you're
continued.
Like, join us next year.
Meanwhile, next year you need to pick up after the mid-season break Fringe and start. Have you watched any of Fringe yet?
I told you everything I've watched. Was that not enough stuff I've watched since the last time we've talked?
Did it include Fringe?
No, it didn't.
Then it wasn't enough.
Then no, it wasn't. Okay,
no, because, here's the thing. They're moving it to Friday nights, which means that's going to kill it. And in fact, if we can go out of order, I want to show the Friday night death video first, even though that's not the way we have it in the lineup, to set this up. Fringe is a fantastic science fiction series. It has really come into its own. The plot is incredible. The characters are fantastic. It is a really, really good series. And they actually decided to put American Idol on Thursdays and bump Fringe over to Friday. And everyone thinks, well, you know what? They just want to kill it. And someone made a YouTube video full of quotes to show you why people think putting something on Friday means that they're going to kill it.
Death! Delicious strawberry-flavored death!
Death seems to follow you around.
Obituaries and death notices?
Please! Please, I don't belong here!
The war's coming. Nature doesn't recognize good and evil.
You belong with me.
You somehow can power this device?
Only one world can survive.
It has begun. I have set everything in motion.
So that you may have picked up on that. That little viral video was made by Fox.
Yeah. That, well, or at least it looks like that.
No, it was. It was, in fact, made by Fox.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. What a bizarre thing for Fox, the people who make it, the people who made the decision to consign it to the death space, to say all this and then say, I mean, this could be the most brilliant thing ever. And to be honest, they probably should have kept their fingers off of it, their fingerprints, so that people really thought it was a groundswell, because they could, if this takes off, make a mint off of iTunes. And then keep the thing on Friday forever. Be like, I don't know, could be about to be canceled. You better keep on telling your friends about it. Could be about to be canceled.
One of the things that made me realize how I feel about Fringe, although I have been watching it consistently lately, is this, which is a fan-made mashup of Firefly with Fringe, and I think it was inspired by the fact that Fringe, although it's been on a few seasons and Firefly never made it out of the first season alive, seems to be coming to that same sort of attachment and that same sort of attitude about it.
Take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot stand. I don't care, I'm still free. You can't take the sky from me. Take me out to the black, tell them I ain't coming back. Burn the land and boil the sky from me. There's no place I can be since I found serenity. You can't take the sky from me.
That was note perfect visuals of Firefly with the audio from Firefly and all of the visual style of Firefly, but all of the characters and situations from Fringe. That was awesome. That was awesome.
And including Pansy the cow.
What's funny is I chuckled at that, but I haven't seen the show.
You don't even know the reference. But the cow is a regular character. It's in almost every episode.
I'm getting excited now.
Yeah. I'm just saying, you might want to, I don't know, watch some Fringe.
All right, so what can you do to save Fringe if you want to?
There are 5 things io9.com says you can do to save Fringe. One is take a hint from Chuck fans. Chuck almost got canceled. Instead of sending peanuts or toys, Chuck fans went one better. They mounted a campaign to eat at Subway restaurants, one of the show's main sponsors, and prove the fast food chain's support for the show achieved more than just getting Subway ads in front of 5 million odd eyeballs. Subway's loyalty to Chuck translated into fans' loyalty to sandwich chain, and fans proved willing to sit through even the most blatant product promotion. I don't know, that might ruin Fringe in some way. You don't want to risk that, but anyway, you can find out what the advertisers are for Fringe and support them. Latest episodes include Sprint, Target, Macy's, Best Buy, Victoria's Secret, Burger King, Nikon, Lincoln Mercury, Chili's, Radio Shack, Men's Warehouse, and Mucinex. So get sick.
Hey, I'm using Mucinex.
Take some Mucinex. And Subway. 2, evangelize over the holidays. Tell all your friends. 3, organize a Fringe watching night. Get everybody to join in and watch it. Email your local newspaper, that sort of thing. And reach out to other fandom. But I think supporting the advertiser is probably the best one of those 5.
Well, and certainly you're doing a bunch of these right now. You've gotten me, I mean, at this point, you've definitely gotten me excited about trying it. And certainly this is a very public venue to tell other people. My guess is if we cut over the chat room, a bunch of people will say whether or not they have or haven't seen Fringe before, whether or not they're going to try it. I'll definitely give it a try. And I like the fact, I assume all the episodes are up on iTunes. You're able to download them so you can get caught up.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome.
All right, let's finish up with some emails to framerateshow@gmail.com. Those of you saying, gosh, I wanted to know how to email you. Here's how you email us. Use your email client and put in framerateshow@gmail.com. And then write us a message.
That's right. And then we'll get an email like this one from Chris Bolton, who says, thanks a lot for the Breaking Bad tip. I have watched all 3 seasons of the past week, and it is by far the best TV show I have ever watched. Thanks again, as I never would have found it if it wasn't listening to the show. Walking Dead was great too, if a little short.
That's all Brian Brushwood there with the Breaking Bad. Mark Smoker says, just a quick suggestion for a show segment, Netflix streaming picks, because there's a lot of new instant movies, but most of them suck.
I think this is a great idea because far and away, I mean, that's the feature on all of the internet that I'm most excited about is the Netflix streaming, because just the idea of, especially as the library expands and you get more really good content like the whole Lonesome Dove mini-series on there as well. This one says, hello, Tom and Brian. Thank you for recommending Fluke Flicks. I decided to take the Fluke Flicks challenge after it being mentioned on Frame Rate Episode 5. I downloaded the app for my iPad and told it to select a random movie. It gave me The Chase from 1966, starring Marlon Brando, Robert Redford, and Jane Fonda. I added it to my Netflix queue and watched it last night. It was quite good, with a pretty awesome performance from Marlon Brando. Here's a blurb from the movie on the Netflix page. Blah, blah, blah. Skip all that. The movie's definitely worth a rental. Again, thanks for the Fluke Flicks challenge. Love the show and take care. Mike/Iceworm. Hey, that actually tells me something. I don't know about you, Tom, but I want to hear. I would love if every week we shared a Fluke Flicks story, both good and bad, because I bet somebody out there is a true fan who got dealt a bad card and sat through the whole thing and could write us a review of their experience. I know somebody got WrestleMania, a 4-hour experience.
Yeah, we absolved them of that responsibility, though, did we not?
Well, we said I said you definitely had to do the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
A challenge like this actually attempts to solve both suggestions here. Netflix suggestion every week and the Fluke Flicks or the
No.
Fluke
The Netflix suggestion has to be a personal recommendation. The Fluke Flick can't just say, our Netflix suggestion, use Fluke Flicks. All right, thanks.
No. But if we're getting a good and a bad one, then the good one is the recommendation.
I guess,
right?
The good one could be a recommendation. Absolutely. Okay, I see what you're saying. That's it for Frame Rate for 2010. Brian?
was a heck of a year.
It was.
And even though this is only our 6th official episode, we are coming up on 20 fake episodes plus the real ones. This has been an amazing experience, man.
Yes, from back in the time of the silent film all the way through today, Frame Rate has been with you, rating the frames all the way through the ages. Thank you for hanging with us all these years.
So long, America.
FrameRateShow@gmail.com is our email address. We will see you in January.
Future.